Okay, welcome to your 18th CSS and HTML tutorial. In this tutorial, we will be covering the CSS background property. Now, to understand the CSS background property, you must first understand that there are actually a number of individual background properties that including background color, background image, background repeat, background attachment, and background position. Now, to illustrate this fully, let's go ahead and create a div element on the page here, and let's give this div element an ID of box. Now let's give it a style. We're gonna say box. Let's give it a width of 500 pixels, and let's give it a height of 500 pixels as well, and let's give it a border of 1 pixel solid. Let's say black border. Control S to save it and preview it in the browser. Okay, we have our div element here. Now, like I said previously, the background property comprises of 5 individual background properties. That's background color, background image, background repeat, background attachment, and background position. Now let's first take a look at the background color property. This is how you write it out. Okay, now the background color property sets the element's background color. Okay, now the possible values are the color value, transparent, or inherent. So we could say the color value, which is, we could say a color name, which is blue, or we can say the other value it takes is transparent. Transparent, P-A-R-E-N-T. Okay, now transparent is the default value for any element on the page, or it can be inherent. Okay, now to explain the inherent, this states that this element right here box element right here will inherit the background color property of its parent element. So whatever the parent element's background color property is, this element right here, this box element, will inherit that property. Okay, so let's go back to our the color value, the color value, which is the first value we use, which is blue. Right now, the color value can be represented like this as a color name, or it can be represented as a hexadecimal notation such as FF2299. Control S to save. That's a very pinkish kind of color. Now let's explain the color, the hexadecimal color in depth. Okay, now the hexadecimal color, all colors right on the page, is a representation of a red, green, and blue color. Okay, so it's a mixture of a red color, a green color, and a blue color. That's the RGB color values. Now in hexadecimal notation, each individual color here has a range of possible values. We can say the range starts with 00, and which is a completely opaque color, which is a very light version of the color, or it could go all the way up to FF, which is a very bright version, the brightest possible version of the color. So for hexadecimal notation, we could say, let's say we want a reddish color, so we could say the highest possible value of red, we could say FF. Now for the green part of the color is the same thing. We could go from 00, which is a very opaque representation of the color, all the way up to FF. So let's say 00 for a very light version of the green, and the blue is exactly the same thing. We could go from 00 all the way up to FF. So let's say let's say 99. We'll put a little blue in that. So with Control S, this will be a reddish kind of color. Okay, that's the same thing we have here. So let's take out this 99 and let's put 00. Control F. Okay, as you can see, it's a very bright red color. Okay, if we want a green color, very bright green color, we could say FF for the green, and we could say 00 for the red. Okay, we have a greenish color, and if we want a blue color, a very bluish color, we could say FF for the blue and 00 for the green. Okay, Control S to save, and we have here a very bluish color. We could lighten it up a little, put 99 for the red, and let's say 44. Let's say 55 for the green. Control S to save. And as you can, I don't know if you can see it, but the blue is a little lighter. Okay, we can mix it up. We could say a very red. We could mix in for the red part. We could say FF, which is a very reddish color, and green FF for the blue as well, which is very bluish color. And let's see what color we get. We get a kind of pinkish color. Okay, so that's the hexadecimal representation of the RGB value. Okay, now we could say the another way of representing the color, we could say RGB. Okay, and we could say we could use a combination of values from 0 all the way up to 255. Okay, 255 being the brightest version of the color. So we could say for the red part we could say 0. For the green part we could say 255, and for the blue part we could say, let's say 45. This is a greenish kind of color. Okay, we have a greenish kind of color, or we could say we want a bluish kind of color. We could say 255. We could say, let's say, make this 10, or let's make this 5. This is the green and the red, so we're gonna have a bluish kind of color. Okay, bluish kind of color. So this is the RGB representation of the color. So let's just make this, go back and make this gray for the background color. Okay, great. Okay, so now we're going to move on to the background image. So let's go to our image folder right here. Let's go back to our folder. Let's say where is it? Wham. And let's go to www. Let's go to first website, and let's go to images. Okay, we have 3 images here: a flower, header, shape. Okay, we're gonna use the flower image. Okay, so for the background image, we use background image. This is how we lay out the property name, and an image. Now to load in an image here, we have to use a URL, a value. So we're gonna say URL, and then we give a location of that image. So we're going to say images, in our images folder, flower.jpg. Control S to save, and as you can see here, the image is loaded onto the screen. Now see, as you can see, the image, right, is repeated all over the element. Okay, so this takes us to our other background property, which is background repeat. Okay, now the possible values for background repeat, we can say repeat X. The default, first of all, the default value is repeat. Okay, meaning that it's going to repeat all over the element. Okay, the other possible values, repeat X. We're going to repeat in the X, on the X axis. Okay, or we can say repeat Y. Okay, we're going to repeat on the Y axis, or we can say no repeat. Okay, which is the most likely one that you will be using, no repeat. Okay, and is not going to repeat, and we're going to have one image right here. Okay, so that's the background repeat property. Okay, now moving on, we move on to the background attachment property. Background attachment. Okay, that's how we lay out. This is the background attachment name of that property. Now, the background attachment, this property background attachment, it sets the background image to scroll or not to scroll. The default value being scroll. So, okay, the 3 possible values are scroll, which is, like I said, the default value. It can be fixed or it can be inherent. So it can be scroll, or it can be fixed, or it can be inherit. Okay, it will inherit the background attachment property of its parent, value. Now, if it's set to scroll, which is the default value, this means that the image will scroll with the image will scroll with the background content. Okay, so to illustrate this clearly, let's increase the height to 2000 pixels. Okay, it's a very tall element. Okay, so now it's the background attachment property is set to scroll, and as you can see, I'm scrolling up and down, and the image is scrolling with the element. However, if we change this to fixed, okay, Control S to save. Now watch what happens. We change it to fixed. Okay, let's go back. Background attachment, fixed. Control S. Right. Okay, we changed it to fixed. So as you can see here, the element is fixed. We're scrolling up and down, but the element remains positioned fixed right here. It does not scroll with the content of the element, with the content of the rest of the content of the element. So that's the background attachment property. Okay, now this takes us to the final one, which is the background position property. Now the background position, it's laid out like this: background position. Okay, now the background position property determines a background image. It determines how a background image is positioned within an element. Okay, now the property can take two possible values: a horizontal value and a vertical value. With these elements, we have been using one possible value. With this background, with the previous background properties, we have been using one possible value. But with the background position, it takes two possible values: a horizontal value and a vertical value. Now the horizontal value can either be left, right, or center, or the vertical value can either be top, bottom, or center. Okay, now if you use only one value, then the default value for the other one is center. So let's say we have our image here, and let's say we use one value, center. Okay, now first of all, let's explain that we can have the horizontal value first, and then the vertical value, whatever we put. Okay, now let's say we use only one value, center. Therefore, the default value for the other value will be center as well. So we use center for one and Control S. Let's see what happens. Okay, as you can see here, the element is centered. Let's go back here and let's change this to scroll. Okay, so that it will scroll with the element and center. Okay, now as you can see here, the element is centered within the page. Okay, so it's centered vertically and it's centered horizontally because we only use one element. What if we want to center it vertically, center it horizontally here, and have it at the top vertically right here? So what we could do is center horizontally and top vertically. Control S to save. And as you can see here, it's positioned to the top right here. However, if we want to position it to the corner right here, we can say horizontally, we can say right, and vertically we can say top. Control S to save it. Okay, let's go back here, and as you can see here, we push it to the right here. So is the two possible values we use are right, horizontal, which is left, right, or center, or a vertical value, which is top, bottom, or center. Okay, if we use one value, then the default for other value is center as well. Now these are the five 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 background properties. However, this is a lot of properties we are laying out. There is a shortcut version, okay, a short form of the background property, which is simply background. Okay, now the single background property, let's Control S, let's take this out, and let's remove what we have done previously. Control S. Okay, now let's change this back to 500 as well. Control S. Okay, now like I said, there is a short form version, so we can say background. Okay, now, and we could just simply type out our values for all the other background properties. Okay, and the order of the values does not matter. So we could say URL for an image. We could say images/flower.jpg. Control S to save, and let's preview this in the browser. Okay, we could say as is here, the default value is repeat, so we could say no repeat. Control S to save. We only have one value. We can say the background color, which will be gray. Control S to save. The background color is gray. We can say let's have it scroll with the elements, with the content of the element. We can say scroll, and we could position it. Let's say we could position it center. Let's just position it center. Okay. Control S, and it will be in the center of that element. Okay, so that is the background property. Okay, the single font we have, we could write it out with five background properties, which is background color, background image, background repeat, background attachment, background position. Or we can simply use the short form version of just typing background and putting the values here, which the order in which they appear does not matter. So we could have the URL for the image, no repeat, so for the repeat value, and gray for the no repeat for the repeat property, gray for the background color property, scroll for the background attachment property, and center for the background position. Okay, so these are this is the single form of the background property. Okay, so this is our 18th CSS and HTML tutorial. So thank you for watching this tutorial, and do be sure that you subscribe. Thank you.